Hello everyone, tonight we are standing in a forgotten clearing where the wind smells like crushed ferns and the stars above don't know you exist. That's okay. They didn't know the dinosaurs existed either. And yet they were there, watching, breathing, maybe wondering, maybe not. You're about to find out what it's like to look up at the ancient sky with a heart 200 million years old. You probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is. Now turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You step barefoot into the black soil of Pangea. It's warm, loose, and smells like rain hasn't touched it in days. Overhead, the night is vast and wild. No pollution, no cities. The stars don't blink here. They burn. You tilt your chin up and... yeah, that's the same Orion's belt. You're looking at the same sky the dinosaurs did. More or less. You shuffle through the darkness with only a few crickets for company. No fire, no flashlight, just your breathing and the sound of leaves rubbing against each other in a language older than time. This part of the world, what will one day become Central Africa, is nothing but humid dreams and ancient trees. And you are not the apex predator here. You crouch beside a mossy stone trying not to make noise. It's not because you're worried about a dinosaur stomping by. It's because you're worried about being mistaken for something edible. There's something primal about this silence, how it carries the weight of everything that hasn't happened yet. Above, the Milky Way unfurls like fogged glass. No satellites, no planes. Just stars, more than you've ever seen. And as you lie back, the coolness of the dirt seeping through your skin, it hits you. These stars have been burning long before the first dinosaur hatched, and they'll keep burning long after the last one goes extinct. There's a myth, not a scientific fact but a persistent one, that all dinosaurs were too stupid to look up. That they didn't care. That they only saw movement, heat, and food. But that doesn't sit right with you after all. Even your house cat stares out the window sometimes like it's thinking deep thoughts. Maybe dinosaurs had thoughts too. We just weren't there to hear them. Here's a fun oddity. The oldest known rock art of constellations, found in caves only about 30,000 years old. Which means even the earliest humans were already trying to make sense of what's up there. But dinosaurs. No carvings, no symbols, only bones. Still, bones carry stories too. You close your eyes and imagine the ground humming beneath you. That's not poetic. Seismic waves back then were more common thanks to the active tectonic madness of the Mesozoic. The Earth wasn't settled yet. It was still trying to figure out what shape it wanted to be. Like a teenager experimenting with facial hair and bad decisions. And just like teenagers today, the planet was dramatic. Volcanoes that lit the night like broken suns. Lightning storms that could rip mountains open. And yet the stars, always the stars, remained. There's a gentle rustle. You freeze. Something long-legged and bird-like steps from the fern line. It's no bigger than a turkey, but moves like it invented paranoia. You don't recognize the species, and that's okay, paleontologists don't either. It's a ghost from the fossil record walking in skin and bone just for you. It stops, looks up. Its eyes catch starlight. No, seriously, this is important. Some fossilized eye sockets suggest a vertical tilt in certain theropods, hinting they might have had an upward gaze bias. Now, that doesn't mean it was philosophically pondering galaxies, but it could mean it had some awareness of the sky, of patterns of light shifts, maybe even of that weird burning thing that falls sometimes. Historians still debate whether dinosaurs had a concept of time beyond simple circadian rhythms. Did they notice the moon waning? Did a full moon put them on edge? We know some modern reptiles behave differently during lunar cycles. So maybe, just maybe, dinosaurs did too. The little creature vanishes, melting back into the brush. You're alone again, except for the stars. And something about the silence feels heavier now. Like it's waiting for you to say something. Your stomach growls, loud. In another life, that'd be a death sentence. Here, it's just a reminder you're still human, still bound to your soft skin and fragile bones. The dinosaurs weren't immortal, but they were better built for this place. One last glance at the sky before you move on. There's a strange streak near the horizon, a subtle shimmer that doesn't belong. You squint. It's not a comet, but it's not just starlight either. You'll see it again later. For now, you file it away like a dream you almost remember. Before you stand, you press your hand to the dirt. The same ground they walked. The same gravity they felt. That's the kicker, nothing's changed. The stars haven't moved. Only the watchers have. You head east where the brush gets thinner and the soil changes from loose black to something firmer, drier, better for walking but worse for sneaking. The trees begin to tilt back, giving you a clearer view of the horizon, and that strange smear of light you saw earlier has vanished. Above the stars burn steady, silent. Then you see it. A pair of them actually. Eyes. Pale, reflective, round. Not human, not mammalian, and not afraid of you. The creature is perched on a low slope framed by scraggly ferns and moonlit mist. Its skin glints dull bronze feathered across the shoulders, tapering down to a long whip-like tail. It's still. Way too still. The only thing moving is its chest rising and falling in the slow, steady rhythm of a thing that knows it's not prey. You crouch without thinking. It doesn't react. It just looks up. Now here's the weird thing. Fossilized skulls of certain small theropods, specifically dromaeosaurids, have shown a peculiar tilt in their eye sockets. Some paleontologists think that means they could rotate their eyes higher than most. Not just to watch for predators, but maybe to study things overhead, maybe even the stars. Historians still debate whether that's a valid interpretation or just wishful thinking from starry-eyed scientists who really want dinosaurs to have hobbies. But you're staring at one right now, and it is absolutely transfixed by the sky. Not blinking, not fidgeting, just watching. You shuffle a little closer. It doesn't flinch. It's not asleep, it's aware. And there's a kind of peace in that. Like it does this every night. The night air cools your neck. Somewhere in the distance, something massive bellows a low, mournful vibration that shakes a few tree branches but doesn't make this little one flinch. It's too focused. You'd joke that it's meditating, but honestly, you don't want to break the spell. Maybe you're both looking for the same thing. You lay down quietly, careful not to rustle too much. Your head rests in the grass and the scent is sharp like crushed celery and mud. Your eyes follow its gaze upward. And just like that, you're syncing with something that shouldn't even be possible. You're lying beside a creature from another age and you're both watching the same sky. The constellations are familiar, but they feel younger, fresher, unnamed. The theropod shifts, and for a second you think it's going to bolt. But no, it stretches, not lazily, deliberately. It angles its long arms in front of it, claws, just brushing the ground neck, arching like a heron ready to strike, and then it lifts one arm slowly. You blink. It's almost like it's reaching for something. Probably coincidence, right? But here's an odd modern fact. Crows and parrots. Birds descended from dinosaurs have shown a behavior known as goal-directed movement toward lights. Sometimes they orient their bodies toward the moon. No one really knows why. Could be navigation, could be instinct, could be curiosity. So maybe this little raptor thing isn't being poetic. Maybe it's just doing what millions of years of instinct have taught it to do: track, tilt, orient, survive. Still, the way its claws hover just slightly toward the stars, it's hard not to see a little poetry there. The creature finally blinks. Once, slowly. Then it stands and walks away silent, as misttail swaying behind it like a paintbrush over canvas. You sit up and watch it vanish into the dark, feeling like you've just been part of a ritual that no one else got invited to. Now, alone again, you notice how quiet things have gotten. Even the insects have muted themselves. The stars feel closer than before, like they're listening. And then, just above the tree line, something shifts. Not a star, not a bird. It's too fast for either. A flicker of light, a flash of movement. Gone. You hold your breath. Nothing. The dinosaur never reacted. That might mean it wasn't dangerous, or it might mean it was too common to care. Either way, you're reminded you're still the alien here. This world belongs to them. You exhale, stand up, shake the grass from your arms, and just before you walk on, you glance up one last time. You wonder, do stars look back? It's a dumb thought, but it sticks. You remember a theory you read once that humans developed pattern recognition by staring at the night sky. That constellations helped train our brains to see structure, to tell stories, to map meaning onto chaos. But dinosaurs didn't write stories. They didn't name the stars. Maybe they didn't need to. Maybe it was enough to just see them. You walk for what feels like hours. The sky doesn't change much, just the occasional drift of clouds, a wind shift, the quiet rearranging of crickets. But then you feel something different. A strange stillness in the air, like the forest is holding its breath. You stop walking. There's a hiss, not a snake. It's above you. You glance up just in time to see it, a brief streak of fire slashing across the sky. A meteor. Maybe the size of a grapefruit. Maybe the size of a sofa. You don't get to measure. It flashes white-blue, then orange, and then it's gone behind the tree line. Seconds pass, then boom. The sound arrives late, but when it does, it hits like a truckload of bass amps. The ground gives a subtle thump under your feet. Somewhere in the valley, real birds explode from the canopy in a panic. Not because they understand what just happened, but because it felt wrong. You duck by reflex. Nothing follows. No smoke, no debris. Not this time. You've seen shooting stars before, but not like this. Not in a world that doesn't know what they are. Here's a fact you probably didn't want. Earth is hit by roughly 17 meteors a day that make it to the surface. Most are tiny, but sometimes a big one lands in the wrong or right place. Historians still debate whether smaller meteor events had a psychological or behavioral impact on prehistoric animals. There's no fossil record for fear, but there are sudden directional stampedes preserved in some fossil beds, entire herds that turned and ran for no obvious reason. Maybe they saw something fall from the sky. Maybe they heard a noise like you just did. You stay low. Watch. Listen. Something moves in the clearing ahead. You ease closer. It's a group of dinosaurs, probably ornithopods, medium-sized with stiff tails and twitchy necks. They're frozen. Not grazing, not sleeping, just still. One of them lifts its head and gives a low, almost musical grunt. The others slowly follow suit, necks craning, eyes angled upward. They're looking at the sky, not in terror, in curiosity, which is worse somehow because it means they noticed. You watch them for a long minute. The group doesn't bolt, doesn't relax either. They just stand there alert and uneasy, waiting for the world to make sense again. And maybe for them, it never quite does. The meteor was small, unimportant by cosmic standards, but something changed. The air smells different. The plants are whispering again. The insects are quiet in a way that feels deliberate. And you realize with a tiny drop of ice rolling down your spine that you're not the only one trying to interpret the sky. You think about how ancient humans used to believe falling stars were omens. Even now, people still make wishes when they see them. Why, it's just rock and fire and physics. But somehow it feels bigger than that. The dinosaurs are moving again, slowly. They resume grazing one by one, casting the occasional glance upward like someone half listening to thunder they hope is going away. You exhale, but not in relief. Here's a strange but real thing. There are fossils of dinosaurs that show healed injuries consistent with falling debris. Blunt trauma with no bite marks. It's possible, even likely, that some creatures live through minor celestial impacts. Not extinction-level events, just scary little fireballs from space. You walk on now thinking about how many dinosaurs must have seen the sky light up and had no idea what it meant. Did they panic? Did they adapt? Did they forget about it 5 minutes later? Or more chillingly, did they remember? It's hard to tell what memory looks like when all you have are bones. Eventually, the trail leads you to a ridge where you sit down to catch your breath. The stars stretch forever above you, and somewhere, way up there, maybe millions of miles out, another rock is probably on its way, just drifting, waiting. You don't tell the dinosaurs. You don't even notice the planes until you're in the middle of them. One moment you're ducking under vines and stepping around roots, and the next you're surrounded by open space. The trees stop so suddenly it's like they hit a wall. You blink into the darkness and the sky feels twice as large out here. That's when you see them, dozens of large bodies, some standing, some curled, all scattered like dropped pebbles across the field. Dinosaurs. Sleeping. You tiptoe into their midst like you've just wandered into someone else's living room at 3 a.m., and now you're trying not to wake the baby. Only the babies here are the size of SUVs. They're sauropods, probably. Something like Camarasaurus, give or take a few million years of taxonomy. Thick-necked, barrel-bellied, and heavy enough that the earth dips slightly beneath them. Most are lying on their sides, eyes closed, tails twitching now and then like a dreaming dog. A few are standing up, just not doing anything, like lampposts that forgot they weren't trees. You crouch low behind a rock and breathe as quietly as you can. Why sleep in the open like this? Isn't that risky? Well, actually, maybe not. Here's your historical tidbit. There's evidence from bone beds and fossilized trackways that suggest some large dinosaurs rested in open plains, often in groups. The reasoning is part instinct, part strategy. Fewer trees means better sight lines for detecting predators. Plus, when you're 30 tons of meat and muscle, it's not like you can tuck yourself into a cozy crevice. And here's the odd fact of the night. Modern elephants, which share a few behavioral similarities with sauropods, often sleep standing up, but they only lie down during REM sleep and only in places they trust completely. So what does that say about this place? You shuffle closer, the ground soft under your hands, and sit. Not too close, not stupid close, just near enough to hear one of them breathe. It's like listening to wind through a canyon, rhythmic and slow and impossibly deep. It makes your own lungs feel pathetic. Then you look up. The stars are clearer now than they've been all night. You see the Milky Way stretching above like someone spilled sugar across velvet. You see entire star clusters that would be invisible back home. You see depth, real disorienting depth, like you could fall into the sky and never hit bottom. One of the standing sauropods shifts its neck, creaking gently as it tilts its head to the side. For a moment, its enormous eye reflects the heavens. You freeze. It's not looking at anything, not quite. But it is angled upward, like it knows there's something above it, like it's always known. Historians still debate whether large dinosaurs were even capable of complex night vision. Some argue their eyes were more adapted to daytime grazing. Others point to features suggesting a degree of nocturnality, especially in younger individuals. But what no one can agree on is this: did they ever notice the stars? You watch the gentle rise and fall of their breathing. None of them are fully asleep, you realize. Not in the human sense. There's always one or two still half-aware ears, flicking eyes, half-lidded. It's like being on shift in a prehistoric watchtower. You lie down in the grass. It smells like crushed pine and dust. You stare at the sky just like they do. And that's when it happens. No sound, no warning, just light. A pulse of pale green washes across the stars like watercolor. A faint, ancient aurora. Not the kind you'd expect at these latitudes, but then again, plate tectonics haven't settled yet, and the Earth's magnetic field throws more tantrums back now than it does today. You suck in a breath. The dinosaurs don't move, not a twitch, because they've seen it before. Maybe this is why they sleep outside, not just for safety, not just for space, but because sometimes the sky does something and it's worth watching even if you don't have words for it. You try to think of the last time you stopped everything just to look up. It's been a while, hasn't it? The green fades. The sauropods sigh, no, really. One exhales so loudly it kicks up a small cloud of dust. Another twitches its foot and rolls onto its side. One of the standing ones kneels, then lies down completely. That's trust, that's sleep, and maybe, just maybe, it's stargazing. You rest your head back and let the grass swallow you. You hear your own pulse for a while, and for once it doesn't feel like a countdown. It feels like a drumbeat shared with giants. You fall asleep, wondering if they ever dreamed of flying. You wake up to the smell of wet bark and something earthy. It's not unpleasant, just unfamiliar, like a stew made from soil and moss. The stars are still out, though they've shifted slightly, crawling across the sky in their ancient rhythm. You stretch quietly and rub the side of your face. It's got a leaf imprint. Nature's version of a hotel stamp. Then you hear it. Not loud. Just soft, steady footsteps through brush. You go still. Your breath slows. Out from the darker edge of the plains comes a figure low, heavy-bodied, and calm. A herbivore. Probably Pachyrhinosaurus, though you're too far to be certain. Its horned face and thick neck are unmistakable even in the low light. It walks with surprising delicacy for something so tank-shaped. It stops near a stand of ancient cycads and sniffs, then lowers its head to feed. You creep closer, careful not to step on any twigs. You settle near a low boulder and just watch. It's a nighttime browser. Now, here's your historical nugget. Paleontologists have studied scleral rings, tiny bones inside the eye sockets of fossilized dinosaurs, and some species like Pachyrhinosaurus show adaptations for low-light vision. That's right, nighttime eaters. Not all dinosaurs were morning people. Some liked the graveyard shift. And this one, it's on a mission. It lifts its head, often sniffing the air. Sometimes it snorts or gives a low grunt. But what's strange is how it navigates. It doesn't really look at things, it smells them, listens to them, feels them. Like its eyes are just backup systems. You get the impression that it knows this land in ways you don't. It brushes past a fern, and the sound is like sandpaper over silk. Then the moonlight shifts. A sliver of brightness slips between two clouds and lands directly on the dinosaur's thick snout. It flinches, not fearfully, more like surprise. Its eyes catch the light, and for a moment you see a soft glint in them, almost human. It steps backward, just a single pace, and now you notice something else. Its movements change when the moon is out. In shadow, it walks with confidence. Under moonlight, it hesitates, pauses, adjusts course. You think predator paranoia reflex, but it's too consistent. Historians still debate whether some herbivores use lunar cycles to determine behavior. There's scattered evidence, bone density patterns, nesting placements that suggest full moons may have affected migration or feeding routes. But it's hard to pin down when you can't ask anyone. The creature steps sideways into shadow again and immediately relaxes. It returns to its feeding. So not just light-sensitive, moonlight-sensitive. That's weird. Here's your random oddity for the night. Certain modern insects, moths especially, can lose all sense of direction under artificial lighting because their navigation depends on moonlight angles. Maybe something similar happened here. Maybe not. But this dinosaur, it clearly has a relationship with the moon. You're just the idiot watching it try to figure out if the moon is judging it. You move slightly, and a twig cracks underfoot. The dinosaur freezes. You freeze. Its eye swivels in your direction, reflecting a thin silver rim. It doesn't charge. It doesn't call for help. It just looks at you unblinking with this ancient stillness that makes your skin itch. Then slowly, it lowers its head again and resumes chewing. You're not a threat. Not worth the calories. Just a weird biped with poor stealth and a twitchy heartbeat. The moon brightens again, and this time you pay closer attention to the landscape. Everything is starker under moonlight. What looked like soft hills before now seem like hunched shoulders. Trees become clawed silhouettes. Shadows stretch longer than they should, reaching towards you like they've got unfinished business. And the scent. That smell from earlier. It's stronger now. Wet bark and crushed flowers and something else, something animal. Not predator, not prey, just alive. like the entire forest is awake and breathing slowly. The herbivore lifts its head again and gives a short, gruff snort. Then it turns toward the forest, following a narrow trail you hadn't noticed before. It vanishes between two massive trunks and the night swallows it whole. You sit there a moment longer, feeling the damp grass seep through your pants. You wonder how many dinosaurs adjusted their lives to the moon. Not because it was romantic, not because it was beautiful, but because it mattered. Here's the thing people forget: night used to be dangerous. Before fire, before walls, before electric light, the moon was your only hope of seeing what might kill you. Dinosaurs didn't build bonfires. They didn't sleep with nightlights. They felt the dark. You tilt your head back. The stars have shifted again. One of the constellations you swore you knew now looks wrong. But maybe it was never what you thought it was. Maybe you're just seeing it the way the dinosaurs did, without lines, without stories, just light. You whisper something not for any reason, just to hear it vanish into the dark. The forest doesn't answer, but something hears. You're moving again, though you can't say why. The forest behind you glows faintly in patches, but the plains are fading, and now the terrain has changed, drier, craggier, steeper. You're walking along a rocky incline, the kind that likes to twist ankles when you least expect it. Sharp grass rustles underfoot, and somewhere off to your left, a branch snaps. Not gently. You stop. It's nothing. Yeah, it's not nothing. The sound repeats, closer this time. A crunch, then a pause, then another. Predator. You duck behind a fallen log, breathing shallow through your nose. Your ears strain in the silence. No roar, no growl, just footsteps. Precise, balanced, confident. The kind that belong to something that already knows what it wants. And that's when you see it, slinking through the underbrush, body low, eyes forward. It's not a Tyrannosaurus. You'd hear that thing coming like a freight train full of regrets. No, this one's leaner. Neovenator, maybe. Or something like it. Built like a panther crossed with a shark. It pauses, looks up, and then turns away from the starlight. That's odd. It stalks the shadows like it's avoiding the sky on purpose. Moving from cover to cover, avoiding every patch of moonlight like it burns. Its head stays low, but it glances up every few steps as if something above it might be watching. You're not the only one who noticed. Some theories suggest certain carnivorous dinosaurs were sensitive to light exposure. Not in a medical way, more like in a behavioral one. There's speculation, keyword speculation, that some predators adjusted their hunting to avoid the brightness of a full moon. It's not a fact, but it's weird enough to fit. Historians still debate whether this was due to prey detection or deeper instinct. The idea that predators themselves might have felt exposed under the stars. That's not usually how the food chain works, but the patterns are there. Uneven fossil distributions, scattered feeding grounds, unfinished kills during high moon phases. You lean forward just a little. The dinosaur freezes. You stop breathing. It doesn't look at you. It looks up again. And there's something in its stance, something uncertain. Not fear, not exactly. More like irritation, like the sky's making its job harder. Modern big cats, lions especially, are known to hunt less under bright moons. Their success rates drop. Prey can see them more easily. But there's also a theory that some carnivores feel uncomfortable under bright night skies. Exposed, vulnerable, like something could drop out of the sky at any moment. Sound familiar? The predator vanishes behind a rock formation. You wait. Nothing reemerges. You slowly exhale and climb onto a low ridge to get a better view. And that's when it hits you. Out here under this much sky, you feel exposed too. There's something about being under a completely open starlit sky that makes the top of your head feel fragile, like you're not protected from above, like something could see you from up there, something that doesn't blink. You lie flat and scan the horizon. Nothing. The air is cooler now, crisp around the edges with a scent like flint and rotting sagebrush. The wind picks up slightly rustling tall, dry grass around the base of the ridge. And then far in the distance, a scream. Not a roar. A scream. It cuts through the night like broken glass. You sit, bolt upright. The sound echoes for a long moment before it dies, and no response comes. Whatever made that sound was alone. You look toward the dark again and notice movement in the sky. Birds? No too late for birds. You squint. There's a cluster of shadows above the tree line, fluttering too slowly to be bats, like something drifting rather than flying. No shape you can pin down, just motion low and silent. You duck again, heart pounding. You're not a dinosaur, but you're starting to feel like one. You think back to the predator, the way it looked up, the way it moved when moonlight touched it, the careful avoidance, the quiet pacing, and you wonder, was it hunting or hiding? Here's your off-topic fact of the hour. There's a species of deep-sea squid that flashes bioluminescent signals, not to attract mates or confuse prey, but to fool predators above. It uses light to mimic the ocean surface, making it invisible from below. Hiding from the sky. So maybe the carnivores of this world feared more than just what was on the ground. Maybe something above taught them caution. You slide down the ridge and keep low. You pass through thin pockets of thorny bushes, bruising your arms as you go, and somewhere behind you something big crunches through the foliage, but it doesn't follow. It's avoiding the open just like you. The stars are sharp now, like knives laid out on velvet. They don't look comforting, they look cold, indifferent, predatory even. You remember how the little theropod in section 2 looked up like it belonged to the night? Not this one. This one walks with its eyes low and its ears high, listening for a sound that may never come. You keep walking, staying in the dark, just in case the stars are watching. You don't realize you've been following a path until you start seeing it repeat. A dip in the land, a twisted root, a half circle of flattened grass like something heavy sat there more than once. You step around a shallow depression filled with black water, and the stars shimmer in its surface like they're watching from both directions. The ground here feels used, not ruined, not trampled, just remembered. And then it hits you. This is a migration route. You're walking in the ancient footsteps of something that passed this way again and again. Herds maybe? Packs. A seasonal loop written into the land long before maps existed. You squint upward. The stars haven't moved much, but they're clearer now, less atmosphere, less haze. You see a perfect arc of white above you. Maybe it's just the Milky Way. Or maybe it's the route itself. That thought doesn't come from nowhere. Here's the history hit. Some researchers believe that certain migratory animals even today use stars to navigate. Birds, like indigo buntings and warblers, orient themselves with the night sky during long migrations. And if birds can do it, why not dinosaurs? Especially ones with bird-like brains and behaviors. The idea is still debated, of course. Historians argue over whether dinosaurs had the cognitive complexity to map celestial patterns, or whether they were just reacting to seasonal cues, temperature, vegetation, instinct. But fossils don't lie. Entire beds of identical species appear and vanish across vast regions with rhythm. Something was guiding them. You kneel by a patch of disturbed earth. It's faint, but there's an arc of shallow impressions, half visible, half imagined. You press your fingers into one. It's cool, damp, recent if your dream logic holds. You walk a little further, and that's when you find the tree. Not tall, gnarled and bent with bark like blackened rope. It's been there for centuries longer, maybe. Its trunk is wrapped in gouges and ridges, and there's a curved scar down the center, white and clean like lightning touched it once and then thought better of it. And around it, scratch marks, claw lines, and a ring of shallow circular prints. You recognize them, not just from fossils, but from 5 minutes ago. They're back. You freeze. No sound, no rustling, just a creeping feeling that you're no longer alone. And then, across the clearing, you see them. A cluster of small theropods, not hunting, not feeding, just walking. one by one in a slow curving path that seems to follow something you can't see. Every few steps, one of them glances up, always at the same part of the sky. You follow their gaze. There it is, a particular constellation, faint but symmetrical. 3 stars in a line, 2 others nearby forming a hook. You don't know its name? It probably never had one. But they know it. They move beneath it, pace with it, and when it shifts toward the western ridge, they shift too. You sit down stunned. They're not following the stars. They're moving with them. Here's your strange but true: some indigenous cultures once described constellations not as shapes but as paths, not fixed images but routes to follow in the sky, navigation maps for people without roads. And you're watching that idea replayed by creatures that lived millions of years before language. The theropods pause at the edge of the tree line. One gives a small call, high-pitched and short like a question. The others wait. Then, as if timed to a drumbeat you can't hear, they vanish into the shadows all at once. No panic, just purpose. You sit in silence. Something under your fingers is warm. You look down. The ground beneath the tree is oddly soft. There are old bones buried here. You can feel them, not fossilized, not fully. Like the earth hasn't quite made up its mind whether to keep them or forget them. You lie back and stare at the same stars. For a moment, you wonder, did the sky look different to them? Not in shape, but in meaning. Maybe they didn't name constellations like we do: Orion, Cassiopeia, Big Dipper. Maybe they didn't need names. Maybe those lights were just coordinates. Calendar markers, silent reminders to keep walking. You glance back toward the west, but the theropods are gone. Only the path remains, and the stars, and the tree. You don't know which direction to go next. So you pick the one with the most stars in it and hope it's the right one. You follow the stars, like breadcrumbs stepping across slabs of stone and through narrow cuts in the land that feel older than language. The air thickens again, and that smell returns: wet moss, warm rot, and the faintest trace of sulfur, like something boiled underground and decided to stay angry about it. You're heading into a swamp. The trees here rise like black columns, their tops lost in a soup of fog. Vines dangle like dead snakes, and the mud beneath your feet makes noises you'd rather not assign personalities to. You're not walking anymore. You're trudging. Quietly, slowly, because every splash you make echoes. You grip a branch for balance and look up, and that's when you see it. A comet, not a star, not a meteor. A full-bodied, gas-dragging comet low on the horizon, dragging a tail of white fire behind it like the world's slowest knife. It's not bright enough to blind, but it's big enough to make you stop moving. Even the swamp seems to notice. The frogs go silent. The birds, which had been grumbling quietly in the trees, go mute. The buzzing fades. The only thing left is the sound of the comet gliding through space like it owns the place. And then a rumble. Not thunder, not yet. Just pressure from the sky. Here's your hard science moment, comets. Real ones can take thousands of years to orbit, and some do pass close enough to Earth to be visible for weeks. The famous Halley's Comet has been showing up for millennia. Theoretically, dinosaurs could have seen one. There's no proof. No fossils of dinosaurs carved with comet-shaped patterns. But the timing's not impossible. Historians still debate whether ancient life forms pre-human could sense changes in air pressure or electromagnetic fields tied to celestial events. Some scientists believe migratory species even now react days in advance to cosmic phenomena. Maybe the dinosaurs felt something you never will. You crouch low, barely breathing. A low growl echoes from somewhere across the water. It's not directed at you. It's a warning call, deep, guttural, and layered with age. You glance around, but the fog makes everything the same shade of run. Then across a narrow patch of muck, something shifts. A dinosaur, massive, wide-skulled, and horn-faced, wades into view. Not alone. Behind it, 3 smaller figures follow. They're slow, deliberate, not grazing, not sleeping. They're watching the sky. The big one lifts its head, nostrils flaring. Its body is tense. like it's bracing for something, like it remembers. You realize it's not just reacting to the light, it's reacting to the feeling. The comet moves slowly overhead, dragging its long tail of ghost fire across the stars. It's beautiful if you ignore the whole portent of doom thing. And make no mistake, ancient people believed comets were bad news. Always have. Famine, war, plagues. It's almost funny how universally disliked they were. You wonder what a dinosaur thinks when it sees something like that. Or maybe it doesn't think at all. Maybe it just knows. You shift slightly and press your fingers into the mud. It's warm. Not from the sun, there hasn't been any in hours, but from underneath. Geothermal veins? Swamps like this are often born from places where the earth is still stewing in its own leftovers. You breathe through your mouth now, less swamp flavor that way. The dinosaur family doesn't move. They stand still, facing the sky like a congregation waiting for the next hymn. The comet begins to curve downward, not toward Earth, just down the horizon, a matter of perspective. Still, the air tightens. A weird fact for you: in 1908, a real-life comet, or maybe an asteroid, flattened over 800 square miles of Siberian forest. Trees were knocked down radially like the hand of a cosmic clock. No impact crater was ever found. It just exploded in midair. Could something like that have happened in the Mesozoic easily? The swamp around you pulses with tension. Then a splash. Not a big one, but fast. Something darted. A crocodilian. A fish, a smaller dinosaur panicking. Whatever it was, it's gone now. You move closer to the standing dinosaurs, careful to stay downwind. The largest one snorts and shakes its head, but doesn't flee. It stares at the fading light like it's memorizing it. One of the juveniles sits, just sits. Hind legs tucked under forearms slack, and slowly it tilts its head to the side. Watching, you realize what's happening. They're not hiding. They're not running. They're witnessing. You sit beside a tree root and let the comet pass. You watch its tail burn into memory, fade into the haze of time. The stars reclaim the sky one by one like candles relighting after a wind. The sounds of the swamp return, first a cricket, then a frog, then a full chorus. The spell is broken, but not forgotten. You glance back at the family of dinosaurs. They've turned away now, walking slowly into the deeper marsh. Not panicked, not in a hurry. But you swear they feel older now. Like the comet told them something, and they understood. You emerge from the swamp, sticky, scratched, and smelling like disappointment. But the air is crisp again, cleaner. The sky above is wide and friendly now, a soft blanket of stars rolled out just for you. You haven't seen a cloud in hours, or maybe it's been longer. Time's slippery out here. Ahead lies a hill, low, gentle, but strangely symmetrical, like the land itself paused mid-breath. You climb it slow and deliberate, every step squelching just enough to remind you that gravity is still winning. At the top, you stop. There, motionless in the middle of the clearing, is a dinosaur. It stands perfectly still, as if someone turned off its batteries. Mid-sized bipedal with a thick tail anchoring it like a flagpole, feathers rippled gently along its back. It's not hunting, not sleeping, not feeding. It's just standing, facing west, toward the last sliver of twilight. You crouch in the grass, unsure whether to approach or leave it alone. The moon's up now, low and orange, casting long, hazy shadows that stretch like fingers across the field. The dinosaur's silhouette blends with them. Even its breathing is subtle, almost theatrical, like it's trying not to disturb the moment. You wait and wait. Nothing changes. Eventually, you move closer. 5 steps. Then 5 more. It doesn't react. You can see its eyes, now black, glassy, almost dull. But not blind, just distracted, focused on something you can't see. It reminds you of people staring into campfires or graveyards. Here's your historical anchor. Some paleontologists have identified ossified tendons along certain dinosaurs' spines, particularly hadrosaurs, suggesting strong back support, possibly to help them remain rigid while standing. Combine that with forward-facing eyes, and a powerful tail for balance, and you get a creature that could hold perfectly still for a long time without toppling over. And this one, yeah, it's mastered the art. Now, for your oddball fact, modern deer sometimes enter a kind of frozen vigilance, a state between fear and focus triggered by ambiguous threats. Not predators, not danger, just a feeling. That's what this dinosaur is doing. You circle it slowly, careful not to make noise. From the side, you see its neck tilted slightly, not in fear, not in alertness, more like reverence. Its gaze is still locked on the sky where the first stars have begun to pulse more brightly against the receding dusk. It's not afraid, it's listening. Historians still debate whether dinosaurs had any concept of sound beyond the immediate predator growls, mating calls, environmental noise. But some researchers argue that certain species had inner ear structures sophisticated enough to detect subsonic rumbles like those made by distant thunder, or maybe even by geological shifts, or comets. You sit nearby just close enough to hear the slow exhale from its nostrils. Rhythmic, soothing. You wonder if it's waiting for something, another star, a specific wind, or maybe the absence of noise itself. And then it moves. Not fast, not startled. It shifts one foot forward, slightly, then stops again. Another pause. It lifts its snout higher and gives a low hum, barely audible, more like a whisper made by breath alone. Then silence. Then another hum. From behind you, you whip your head around. A second dinosaur stands at the edge of the clearing. Same posture, same size, same stillness. They're not alone. They're not random. They're doing something. You flatten yourself in the grass. Watch. A third joins, then a fourth. Now there are 5 of them spaced like stones in a forgotten circle, all standing in quiet reverence under the stars. There's no roar, no screech, no movement beyond the slow turning of heads toward the heavens. It's not a ceremony, not a ritual, not exactly. It's a pause. A moment of unity beneath something bigger than themselves. You think of modern stargazers, people who drive out into deserts just to feel small under the cosmos. You think of astronauts floating in orbit, staring down at Earth and feeling like nothing matters and everything does. And now you're watching dinosaurs do it. Or maybe not. Maybe it's all instinct. Maybe they're aligning their bodies to some forgotten temperature gradient, or waiting for a signal that never comes. But you're not so sure anymore. The first one lifts its head a little higher. A final sniff. Then it steps forward, slowly. The others follow. They break the circle, drift apart, fade into the night like figures at the end of a silent vigil. And you're left with the wind. You lie back on the grass, eyes toward the stars. One flickers, then another. One falls. Not fast, just a faint, slow burn disappearing before your brain can assign meaning. But meaning comes anyway. Maybe that dinosaur wasn't listening to a sound. Maybe it was listening to time. Measuring the moment. Pausing to remember something ancient that you'll never understand. And for the first time tonight, you wonder, if they could remember the sky, could the sky remember them? You keep your head down now, walking slower, softer, like the land has changed beneath your feet and decided to demand respect. It's darker here, deeper night somehow. You'd swear the moon dimmed a little, as if something brushed over it and forgot to leave a note. The trees are back but not towering. These are crooked, narrow things knotted with bark that peels like sunburn. The underbrush here hums, not audibly exactly, but with a feeling, like everything is aware again. Then you spot movement, small, fast, half-seen. You freeze behind a trunk and squint through the gloom. There a glint of scales, a flash of tail. A lizard number too big, too fluid, it moves like liquid poured over roots. You edge closer. And there it is, perched on a low branch just above your head. A dinosaur, tiny by comparison, maybe the size of a large house cat. Feathers fringing its limbs like ivy. It tilts its head, catching a stray moonbeam like it planned it. Then it freezes, and in that moment it vanishes. Not physically, but optically. You blink. It's still there. You know it is. You just saw it. But under the light, it shifted tones so perfectly with the tree that your eyes refuse to cooperate. You take a breath, almost laugh, and then stop yourself. Because this isn't a magic trick, it's something real. And real things, especially in ancient forests, tend to have teeth. Here's a strange but solid biological fact. Some small theropods, especially Microraptor and its relatives, may have had iridescent feathers. Not for flight performance, not even for camouflage in the usual sense, but for display communication and environmental blending. Historians still debate whether this iridescence was active camouflage changing color based on light angle or just a coincidental perk. But you're watching something now that feels intentional. The creature shifts just slightly and it reappears, then vanishes again as a cloud moves over the moon. It's playing with the light. It hops down from this branch in near silence, feathers folding close to the body. It's not hunting, not running, just exploring. But its behavior changes every time the light changes. In darkness, it's confident. In moonlight, it stills. And when a breeze opens the canopy above, scattering speckled moonlight across the forest floor, the dinosaur begins to move in time with the shadows, almost like it's navigating by pattern. You think of cuttlefish, modern masters of camouflage. They not only match their color to the background, but simulate motion, flickering stripes across their skin to confuse predators. Some can even mimic textures, not because they think they just are. And maybe this dinosaur is the same. Or maybe it knows. It stops suddenly, stares straight at you. You do not move, not even a blink. Its head tilts, slowly, like it's considering you. You can feel its eyes scanning you the way you scan new apps, cautious curiosity and a little bit of judgment. Then it does something weird. It steps forward, lifts one clawed finger and taps a flat stone. Just once. A crisp, dry sound. Then it backs away and vanishes into the undergrowth. You approach the stone and crouch. There's a mark. Just a scratch, but deep, deliberate. Not a word, not a symbol, but a line angled and precise. You frown. Modern animals mark territory all the time. Scratches, scent, poop, graffiti, you name it. But this felt surgical, like it was leaving something. And you start to wonder, what if some dinosaurs didn't just camouflage themselves to hide, but to observe? What if they watched others without being seen, blending into the foliage like a shadow pretending to be a leaf? You lean back against a tree and stare upward again. The stars are glittering harder now, less soft, like pinpricks, not candles. You feel their distance, their cold. And that same dinosaur, wherever it's gone, might be watching them too, or watching you. It's hard to say which is more unnerving. Here's your oddball fact. There's a species of owl in South America that sleeps face first into tree bark. Not for comfort, not because it's tired, but to vanish. Even asleep, it's hiding. You smile, slightly, then turn serious. Because the forest suddenly feels smaller. Not physically, just emotionally. Like it closed in around you the moment that dinosaur disappeared. You stand, slowly. Try not to rustle. Your feet carry you along a trail you didn't notice before. It's narrow, clean, almost purposeful. Maybe made by something that walks it every night. The moonlight flickers through branches above like a broken metronome. The air gets cooler. You swear you hear breathing behind you, but when you spin, it's just the rustle of leaves. Still, you walk faster now. Not because you're afraid, but because the stars seem to be whispering the same thing over and over. Some things only exist when you're not looking. And tonight, you're being looked at. You're deep in the woods now, walking like a thief in a museum of time. Every step you take feels borrowed. The ground is dry here, oddly dry, and it crunches beneath your feet with tiny twigs that crack just loud enough to announce your presence. You wince with each one, but the forest doesn't seem to mind. Not yet. Then you hear it. No roar, no stomping, just a soft, repetitive sound. Scratch, pause. You follow it instinctively, ducking under low branches, brushing aside ferns like you're turning the pages of a very slow-burning novel. And there beneath the roots of a fallen tree, you see it. A dinosaur. But it's not sleeping. It's pacing. Back and forth. Same line, same beat. Like a metronome set to anxiety. Not a predator. Not a herbivore you recognize either. Long tail, long snout, long legs twitching with unused energy. Its eyes are wide and glassy, reflecting moonlight like twin silver discs. And it will not rest. You crouch low behind a rotting log. The smell is thick, mushroomy, with a splash of wet copper. The kind of scent you associate with hospitals or maybe wet coins. The dinosaur keeps pacing, not randomly, but rhythmically, obsessively. Step, step, sniff, turn. It reminds you of those captive animals at modern zoos, the tigers and bears that walk the same loop over and over because something in their brain won't shut off. But this one's wild, untouched, and it's doing the same thing. Here's your ancient science fact: researchers have examined bone histology in some theropod species and found irregular growth rings, signs of stress, sleeplessness, or disrupted hormonal cycles. It's been proposed cautiously that certain individuals may have suffered from seasonal insomnia, possibly linked to environmental triggers like lunar cycles or prolonged light exposure. Historians still debate what those rings truly mean. Was it illness, famine, climate stress? No one knows for sure, but there's enough of a pattern to raise eyebrows in the back rooms of fossil labs. And now you're watching one play out in real time. The dinosaur stops pacing. It turns to face the sky. You swear it looks exhausted. Its jaw opens slightly, not a roar, not even a call, just a breath, like it's sighing. And then it scratches the dirt with one claw, just once. Then back to pacing. What if dinosaurs couldn't always sleep? Not all the time, not all species. But just like us, some unlucky ones might have been wired differently. You think of the human brain, how it lights up like a malfunctioning amusement park when it's sleep-deprived. How dreams get sharper. How time bends. How every shadow looks like it's hiding something. Maybe this dinosaur's been like this for days or weeks. You shift slightly and a branch snaps beneath your foot. The dinosaur jerks its head towards you, eyes locking on. But it doesn't flee. It doesn't charge either. It just stops, still as stone. You don't move. Not because you're being strategic, but because your body's temporarily forgotten how. The two of you stare at each other, held in a silence so tight you could bounce a quarter off it. And then slowly it lowers its head, takes one step forward, then turns away, back to pacing. You exhale like you've been holding your breath since the Triassic. The forest feels heavier now. The trees lean closer somehow. The stars above blur for a moment like your eyes have fogged over. You lie back not to rest but to escape the intensity of it. Above you, the stars remain unbothered, always watching, never blinking. You try to find patterns in them, dots to connect, a shape to name. But your brain's too fuzzy. Maybe you're tired too. Here's your oddity for the hour: dolphins, when sleeping, only shut down half their brain. The other half stays awake to watch for predators. Always alert. Always half ready. Maybe that's the price of intelligence, or maybe it's the curse of being between predator and prey. You wonder how many dinosaurs lived like that. Half asleep, half alive. You glance over. The dinosaur is still pacing, still haunted by something you'll never see. You whisper to it, not loud, not really talking, just offering. Take a break, buddy. It doesn't respond. But for one heartbeat, it pauses, looks up, and for the briefest of moments, you swear it hears you. Then it disappears into the trees. Not running, not vanishing, just fading. Like a memory you're already forgetting. You lie there longer than you need to. Not afraid, not curious, just still. Like maybe the only way to honor that sleepless creature is to be quiet with it. And maybe, just maybe, the stars are blinking a little slower now. For both of you, the wind hits you like a door slamming open. One minute you're resting on a soft patch of moss, half dreaming, trying to decide if the stars are moving or if your eyes are just lying to you, and the next the sky growls. Not thunder. Not yet. Just a low rolling pressure that moves through the air like the exhale of a sleeping god. You sit up fast, heart, already sprinting. Trees sway, leaves lift. You hear a crack from somewhere deep in the woods, a branch snapping from a tree that's seen too many years. And then comes the light. It starts at the horizon, this sickly yellow glow that doesn't belong to sun, moon, or fire. It creeps upward slow and steady like the world's worst sunrise. You're not the only one who notices. The forest animals are moving, not fleeing, not stampeding, just relocating, silently, with purpose, like they've done this before. You do the same. The path is muddy now, softer than it was just minutes ago. You slide a little, stumble once, grab at a branch that breaks in your hand. The wind howls again, higher pitched now, less polite. It doesn't just touch you, it pushes you. And above it all, no stars. They're gone, blotted out, swallowed. You crane your neck to find them, but the sky's gone black. Not the gentle nighttime kind of black, but the ink-drenched, blinding, cloud-choked ceiling of an angry planet. You squint up and feel something hit your face. Not rain, ash. Then comes the thunder. Crack. Not a roar, this is surgical. The kind of sound that divides things. You duck under a ledge of exposed rock just in time for the sky to open. Rain, number sheets, walls, whole rivers pouring down like someone kicked over the ocean. Your skin goes cold in seconds, soaked through. The world disappears in blur and noise. You can't even see your hands. The ground beneath you floods fast. Mud becomes slurry. The trees groan like they're begging to be let go. You grip the roots overhead and breathe shallow. You think of the dinosaurs. Where are they? And then you see them. Flickering shapes through the downpour, massive, slow-moving silhouettes crossing the floodplain. A herd maybe hadrosaurs. Their heads are low, their tails straight, bodies hunched against the storm like soldiers beneath invisible fire. They don't scatter. They don't roar. They just endure. You watch them disappear into the mist one by one. Here's a truth wrapped in fossil mud. Paleontologists have found entire trackways preserved in what were once flash flood zones. Whole herds caught in sudden weather events, their feet dragging through rising silt. Some fossils even show mud clinging to limbs, suggesting that the creatures didn't have time to get out before being buried. Historians still debate whether weather events like this shaped migration patterns or species decline. We know droughts ended dynasties, but storms, floods. Maybe they wrote their own rules. You look up again. Still no stars, still no light. Just the smothered, endless churn of wind and water and thunder without pause. You crawl out from under the ledge, half drenched, half deafened. Your legs sink into the soft earth with each step. Water up to your shins now. The trees thin. And then you see it. A young dinosaur, small, hunched, shivering, clinging to the lee side of a boulder. Its feathers are slicked, flat body trembling. Not moving, not dead. Just waiting. You wade toward it slowly. Not out of rescue instinct, you couldn't do anything but, because you need to be near something alive. You sit beside it. Say nothing. After a moment, it leans just slightly toward you. Not for warmth, but to share shelter. Two living things against a storm neither of you can name. The thunder rolls again, closer. The sky flashes. Still no stars. You wonder, what does a creature that's never seen a roof think about lightning? Does it fear the noise or just the part that comes after? Here's your strange human fact. During the Dust Bowl of the 1930s, people reported watching entire towns vanish behind walls of dirt and wind so thick and fast that the stars would disappear for weeks. Some people stopped believing in sky entirely. And now you get it. The world without stars feels wrong, rootless. You stare at the sky as if demanding it give them back. The young dinosaur beside you huffs a tired breath. You both wait. Eventually, the wind softens. Not stops, not ends, but softens. The rain becomes manageable. A drizzle. The air lightens. And slowly, like a secret being forgiven, the clouds begin to drift. A pinprick of light appears, then another. The stars return like shy friends sneaking back into a party. The dinosaur shifts again, shakes the water from its feathers, looks up. You look with it. The sky is still a mess, torn, clouds, hazy moons, mere flickers of far-off lightning. But there are stars again. And in that moment, you both breathe like you forgot how. You don't know how long you sit like that, just two soggy survivors under a healing sky. But when the dinosaur finally stands and limps away, you don't follow. You stay behind, staring upward, trying to remember every star in case the sky takes them again. It starts with a glow, not dramatic, not bright, just wrong. Like something soft lighting up where nothing should. You're walking the edge of a dry ridge now, moon above air, warm with that post-storm humidity that makes your skin feel like a sponge. The stars are back, patient as always, and the trees sway in rhythm with a wind that no longer seems angry. Then you see the nest. It's tucked under the overhang of a flat rock, half sheltered, half buried. The shape of it makes you stop perfectly circular, rimmed with woven branches, dried leaves, and old bones. Nature's version of interior design, inside eggs. 5, maybe 6. Pale gray with dark flecks roughly the size of small watermelons. And around the edges a faint shimmer, subtle, like moonlight caught in oil. You step closer. One of the eggs glows, not reflectively, not from the moon, from within. You crouch, eyes locked. Yeah, it's real. A pulse of soft greenish blue radiates from the shell like a heart beating in fog. It doesn't light up the others, just itself. And as you watch, the glow fades, then returns slightly dimmer. You whisper, "Why you don't know? Are you alive?" No reply, of course. But the egg pulses again. Here's your factual treat. Certain modern organisms, mostly marine like dinoflagellates and some jellyfish, produce natural bioluminescence. It's rare on land, but not impossible. Some researchers have theorized that bioluminescence could have evolved in eggs or embryos in specific conditions, perhaps as a signaling method, perhaps as a byproduct of internal chemical reactions. Historians still debate whether the faint luminescence sometimes found in fossilized eggs is preservation artifact or original biochemistry. No one's found conclusive evidence, but tonight you're not reading a journal article. You're watching it happen. The egg pulses again, then stills. You glance around the nest, half expecting something to come charging out of the woods, maternal instincts blazing. But no, silence. Even the insects have paused. Then, movement. From behind the nest, a figure steps forward. Not big, not threatening, just old. An adult dinosaur. Small-bodied, feathered with large eyes that shine silver in the dark. You think it might be Trudon or a cousin? Long fingers, delicate steps, and a face that holds more expression than you'd expect from something that never learned to smile. It doesn't look at you. It looks at the glowing egg, tilts its head, blinks slowly, then curls around the nest, half coiling its body to shield the eggs from the breeze. Not aggressively, not possessively, just protectively. You don't move. You barely breathe. The dinosaur lowers its head near the glowing shell, nuzzles it. The egg pulses once more in response. You're witnessing a conversation you'll never understand. And for a moment, it doesn't feel prehistoric. It doesn't feel alien. It feels familiar. The glow pulses again, fainter, then fades entirely. The adult lifts its head slightly, waits, then slowly closes its eyes, and settles into stillness. Not sleep, not quite, but that ancient sacred calm that comes with believing the worst is over. You crouch lower, press a palm to the cool stone. The air is soft here, not cold, not warm, just here. Here's your off-topic oddity. There's a type of fungus foxfire that glows faint green in dark forests. It has nothing to do with communication. It's just biochemistry reacting to the air. But early humans thought it was fairy magic or trapped souls. We always give light a story. Maybe dinosaurs didn't. Maybe a glowing egg meant nothing to them. Or maybe it meant everything. You sit for a long time watching the adult dinosaur rest beside the eggs. A breeze moves through the clearing. The leaves stir. The stars blink in and out behind drifting clouds. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the glow returns. Not bright, not theatrical, just enough to make you smile. You wonder, was this normal? Did glowing eggs happen all the time back then? Did a mother ever wake to find her nest lighting up like a lantern? not realizing she'd just made history. Or was this a one-time thing? A soft, brief miracle? You'll never know, but you'll remember. Eventually you stand, back away from the nest. The adult dinosaur doesn't stir. The eggs stay silent. You walk into the trees again, glancing back once, just once, to see the faint blue pulse against the dark. Like a memory trying not to fade. You're on higher ground now. You didn't mean to climb, it just happened. The trail curved, then rose, and suddenly the trees grew sparse and the soil turned rocky beneath your feet. You crest a low ridge, and for the first time all night you can see everything. Below you lies the ancient world in its final form. Marshes stretch into mist. Forests sleep under the pale hush of a half-set moon. And in the far distance beyond where you can walk. Even if you had all night, a faint line smudges the horizon, the edge of something vast, something incoming. The stars are still above you, bold and bright and cruelly indifferent. But you know what's coming. Not tonight, not this exact moment, but soon. Because this is the final sky. Below you, spot a cluster of dinosaurs, four-legged grazers, slow-moving, thick-tailed. Probably hadrosaurs again. You've seen them before, but now they seem heavier, like the earth is starting to pull harder. They walk in silence. No vocalizing, no herd panic. Just one slow, unified drift toward a watering hole that reflects nothing. Even the stars avoid it. Void. You make your way down toward them, moving slow. Careful. Something in the air tastes metallic, like blood diluted in rainwater. And the wind. It's backwards. It's blowing from the horizon. That line in the distance, it isn't morning. It's an omen. Here's your historical hammer drop. The Chicxulub impactor, roughly 10 kilometers wide, struck the Earth around 66 million years ago. The explosion was equivalent to over 1 billion nuclear bombs. It triggered wildfires, tsunamis, an impact winter, and the collapse of most food chains. Around 75% of Earth species disappeared, including all non-avian dinosaurs. Historians still debate whether the asteroid was a one-hit knockout or just the final blow after a long decline. But the impact changed the sky. Forever. You find a place to sit. A low rock. It's warm from the day's heat, but now it feels like a farewell gesture. The wind keeps blowing. One of the hadrosaurs lifts its head. Not panicked. Not confused, just listening. Then it looks up, and that does something to your chest. You follow its gaze, and for a moment you let yourself pretend it knows. Knows that the stars it sees tonight will not be the ones its descendants see. Knows that something ancient is ending. Knows that silence is coming, and not the soft, sleepy kind. The kind that erases. The hadrosaur exhales a long, low rumble. Not a call. Not a warning, just sound. You whisper to it, I know. It doesn't react. Why would it? But maybe this is how it's always been, creatures watching the sky at the edge of everything, feeling a change they can't explain. You wonder how many other eyes looked up that night. Were there carnivores perched on rocks sniffing the weird breeze? Did birds take off suddenly, spiraling in chaotic patterns that no one understood? Did some small theropod huddled in its burrow freeze at the sound of a wind it didn't recognize? Maybe none of them knew what was coming. Or maybe all of them did. Because sometimes your bones know before your brain does. You lie back on the rock and stare at the stars. They look the same. But they're not. There's a sliver of light now on the far edge of the sky. Not dawn, not moonrise, just something other. A soft white pulse that grows brighter the longer you stare. It's still too far to feel, too distant to fear. But it's coming, and the stars seem quieter now. Like they're making room. Here's your eerie little oddity. Some species of sea turtles navigate back to their birth beaches using the stars. If the sky is cloudy, they lose their way. A single missing pattern is enough to strand them forever. You wonder what happens to a species when the sky it remembers goes missing. You sit up slowly. The hadrosaurs are still grazing. Calm. Not because nothing's wrong, but because that's what they've always done. They don't get to see the future. But you do. You know what happens next? Ash. Silence. darkness that lasts for years, and eventually, light, but not for them. You want to scream at the sky, to warn someone, to mark this moment in stone, but all you can do is watch. The wind presses against your face again, and this time it feels final. Like the earth is holding its breath, and the stars still watching say nothing. You don't remember standing, but now you're walking slowly with the last dinosaurs. The ground beneath you is firm again, dry grass rustling under your feet, like a language only the wind understands. Ahead, a group of small feathered theropods pick their way across the hillside. They don't travel in a line, but there's a rhythm to them, a kind of choreography. No urgency, just purpose. They're heading nowhere in particular, just moving forward as if they've been doing it forever and will keep doing it until time forgets how to measure. One of them pauses, looks back, not at you, at the sky, and you follow its gaze. The stars are back in full now, no clouds, no haze, just pure, ancient light. The Milky Way stretches like a smear of white ash, and you feel that familiar ache again. That ache of knowing too much and not enough at the same time. The light on the horizon. Yes, it's brighter now. Still no sound. Still no fire. Just that sickly white smear that shouldn't be there. You glance at the dinosaur beside you, smaller than the rest. Maybe a juvenile. It walks a little slower. Tilts its head every few steps like it's listening for a rhythm only it can hear. It stops finally at the edge of a shallow ridge. Then it sits. Just sits, like it's done. You sit with it, and for a while nothing moves. The stars don't blink. The wind doesn't shift. Even the insects seem unwilling to chirp. It's not death. Not yet. It's the space between. Here's your closing historical footnote. Traces of shocked quartz rare metals like iridium and impact debris across the globe form the KPG boundary, an unmistakable line in the geological record that says, in a language of stone and time, something ended here. And maybe somewhere in the layers below your feet, a trace of this very night is buried. Maybe that little dinosaur next to you left a print. A claw. A breath that condensed for one last second before fading. Historians still debate whether any dinosaurs survived the first few days after impact. Some probably did, hidden, burrowed small. But for most, the night ended not with fire but with confusion. A dark too deep to measure. A silence that devoured stars. The juvenile beside you shifts slightly, leans against a low rock and closes its eyes. Not in fear, not in pain, but like it trusts the night to hold it. You reach out, not to touch, but to feel. And for one impossible moment you swear you can hear its breath. Soft, even, real. And then the light changes. The sky blinks once. A pulse. A ripple like water shivering in a bowl. The stars hesitate. You look away. You can't stop what's coming. But maybe, just maybe, you can witness it. So you stay there on the ridge beside a creature that has no idea it will become myth. You both sit beneath the last sky. And even when the horizon burns white, you don't look away. So now you're lying there, not alone, not afraid, with the stars above and the memory of creatures beside you who didn't ask for history but became it anyway. The wind has softened again. The light has changed. But you're still here. And maybe that's enough. Maybe the bones that sleep beneath the earth still carry the shape of dreams, of stars, of nights like this one. And maybe, just maybe, when we dig them up, what we're really doing is listening. So sleep easy and let the silence speak.